special circumstances created and the unique evidence left behind by fire. Chapter 5: Fingerprints, your personal signature. In this chapter, we're defining fingerprints, classifying and matching prints, and exposing and collecting prints. If you read, watch TV, or go to the movies, you know that fingerprints play a vital role in many mysteries. Whether real life or fictional, fingerprints often are how police identify criminals and solve crimes, even crimes that are decades old. Although fingerprint identification is now standard practice, acceptance of the individuality of fingerprints by police, scientists, and the courts didn't happen overnight. In this chapter, I explain the science behind fingerprinting, a little bit of its history, and some of the methods used for finding and lifting fingerprints at the crime scene. Getting a grip on fingerprints. Using a bright light and magnifying glass, take a close look at your finger pads, the fleshy surface of your fingers that you use for touching and gripping. You'll see very fine lines that curve, circle, and arch. These lines are composed of narrow valleys called grooves and hills known as friction ridges. When you see an inked fingerprint, you're looking at the pattern made by the friction ridges. Friction ridges give your fingerprints traction, and this traction enables you to pick up glass, pen, piece of paper, or speck of lint. Imagine trying to turn the pages of this book without being able to grip the paper. Without friction ridges, a glass would easily slip from your hands, and you'd have trouble gripping the broom you need to sweep up the mess. Without friction ridges, we'd all be butterfingers. These ridges evolved so that human beings would be less clumsy and more efficient when working with their hands. In fact, the ability to grip sticks, throw stones was a matter of survival to your remote ancestors. After all, how can you hunt and kill an elk if your weapon continually slips from your fingertips, or that stone you hurl lacks any predictable direction? police officer Alphonse Bertillon developed the first truly organized system for identifying individuals in 1883. Believing that the human skeleton didn't change in size from about age 20 until death, and that each person's measurements were unique, he created a system of body measurements that became known as bertillonage. According to Bertillon's calculations, the odds of two people having the same bertillonage measurements were 286 million to 1. Damn. Bertillon thought everyone could be distinguished from one another by key measurements such as the diameter of the head and the span of the outstretched arms. For many years, this system was accepted by many jurisdictions, but by the dawn of the 20th century, bertillonage was losing its luster. The inexact measurements varied according to who made them, and because the measurements of any two people of the same size, weight, and body type varied by fractions of a centimeter, the system's flaws quickly appeared, and it soon was discontinued. Anthropometry's death sounded as a comical coincidence in the Will West case. On May 1st, 1903, Will West arrived as a new inmate in Leavenworth Penitentiary in Kansas. The records clerk apparently thought he looked familiar, but the new inmate denied having been in prison before. Imagine the surprise among prison officials when Will's anthropometry measurements exactly matched those of a Will West, another inmate at Leavenworth. The two men did indeed look eerily similar, as if they were twins. They were brought together in the same room, but they said they weren't brothers. Fingerprints helped authorities distinguish between the two Wills. So much for measuring the diameter of a person's head. Leavenworth immediately dumped anthropometry and switched to a fingerprinting-based system for identifying prisoners. New York's Sing Sing prison followed a month later. A similarity between Will and William West was not merely a bizarre coincidence. A report in the Journal of Police Science and Administration in 1980 revealed that the two actually were identical twins who had many fingerprint similarities and nearly identical ear configurations, unusual in any circumstance except with identical twins. Furthermore, each wrote letters to the same brother, same 5 sisters, and same Uncle George. Towards the end of the 19th century, Bertillon reluctantly agreed to add fingerprints to his bertillonage profile. However, he added only those of the right hand. Big mistake. Weird. On August 12, 1991, Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre Museum in Paris. The theft left a clear thumbprint on the glass and had protected da Vinci's masterpiece. Alphonse Bertillon added his profiles to the investigation, but unfortunately he had no classification system to aid investigators searching through his thousands of data cards. He and his assistant spent several months digging through his files to no avail. 2 years later, police apprehended the thief, Vincenzo Brucia. I'm so bad at names. We're gonna say Vincenzo P. His prints matched the one found at the crime scene. It turns out that Vincenzo's prints were among those in Bertillon's possession all the time. because the print found at the scene was from Vincenzo's left thumb, and Bertillon's files contained only that of Vincenzo's right thumb. Taking a suspect's prints. You may have had your fingerprints taken at some time, hopefully as a job requirement, and not as part of a criminal investigation. If so, the pads on your fingers are inked by pressing the fingertips to an ink pad and then pressing on a fingerprint card. Messy. Now, there are many types of digital scanners that can collect the same information without a mess, and handheld digital devices can now be used by law enforcement to collect prints in the field. Dillinger's indelible fingerprints. Don Dillinger, one of America's most notorious criminals, attained the moniker of public enemy number 1 in an effort to evade the cops. He underwent facial plastic surgery and tried to remove his fingerprints with acid. After he was betrayed by the infamous Lady in Red, Dillinger was shot to death outside Chicago's Biograph Theater. Despite Dillinger's efforts, prints taken at the morgue still match the ones on file, thus proving that the dead man was indeed Dillinger. Remember, using ridge patterns, the usefulness of fingerprints for identification depends on 3 principles. 1. A fingerprint is individual and not shared by any 2 people. Every person has a unique set of fingerprints. Even though identical twins have the same DNA, they have different fingerprints. 2. A fingerprint remains unchanged throughout life. The fingerprints you are born with are the ones you die with. If someone burns or shaves off the pads of their fingers, the print disappears for a while, but as skin repairs itself, the wounds heal, and the print reappears. However, more severe damage that involves deeper layers of the skin may leave permanent scars and prevent prints from re-emerging. Nonetheless, completely obliterating a print is difficult, and any scars left behind by attempts to do so create new individual characteristics that an examiner can use for making a match. And lastly, 3. Fingerprints exhibit general patterns that provide a basis for classification. General patterns exist within every person's prints, and all people share these prints to varying degrees. Prints therefore can be systematically classified, reducing the number of records that must be searched when looking for a match. Making matching easier. Classifying prints. The purpose of any classification system is to add order to chaos by finding common traits among items. For instance, libraries organize books by subject matter, which keeps readers from having to wander aimlessly through the shelves for hours or more likely days. Lumberyards categorize wood by type, width, and length, and grocery stores stock pasta sauce with the linguine and spaghetti. You get the idea. The same is true of fingerprint files. They're useful only if they can be stored in great numbers and quickly searched for a match. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has more than 200 million fingerprint files. Imagine slogging through those. Organizing the prints into groups makes searching for a match to an unknown print much easier. Historical note: grouping by arches, loops, and whorls. In 1685, Marcello recognized patterns in fingerprints and names them loops and whorls. The arch pattern followed more than 200 years later, when Sir Francis Galton identified it in 1892. Whorls, loops, and arches are still the basis of fingerprint matching Arches. Arches are ridge lines that rise in the center to create a wave-like pattern. Arches are subgrouped into plane and tented varieties. Tented arches have a sharper central rise than do plane arches. Only 5% of all pattern types are arches. Loops. Loops are comprised of one or more ridges that double back on themselves. About 60% of patterns in human fingerprints are loops. They're subdivided into two types depending on the direction of the ridge's flow in relation to the two bones of the forearm, the radius and the ulna. The first is radial loops flow towards the radius or the thumb side. I guess, which would be like this way. And then ulnar loops flow toward the ulnar or little finger side. Oh, okay. I don't really understand. I kind of get it. I need a visual. Whirls. Whirls look like little whirlpools or ridges. They make up 35% of patterns seen in human fingerprints and are subgrouped into 4 categories. Category 1, plain whirls, are either concentric circles like a bull's eye or spirals like a wound spring. Category 2, central pocket loop whirls, resembles a loop with a whirl at its end. Category 3, double loop whirls include 2 loops that collide to produce an S-shaped pattern. And category 4, accidental loop whirls are slightly different from other whirls and are irregular. Taking a closer look, developing the Henry system. Sir Edward Henry, an Inspector General of the British Police in India's Bengal province, worked on a fingerprint classification system for many years. The Henry system, which he completed in 1899, is still used, with a few modifications in the United States and Great Britain. Using the Henry system, individual prints are assigned scores based on where whirls show up within a 10-finger set of prints. Whirls on certain fingers get higher scores than whirls on other fingers. The total score is used to narrow down matches into all of the sets with the same score. This system separates fingerprint files into 1,024 groups, thus narrowing the focus of fingerprint searches. The actual matching is still